Central Bank of Nigeria says the nation's economy is on track as it retains monetary policy rate at 14%. International Monetary Fund cuts global economic outlook for 2019. Now, World Economic Forum to come to Africa for the first time as Ethiopia sets to host the 2020 edition, just as oil prices dropped to $60 a barrel from Tuesday's high. This is Business Express, reaching you from the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Thanks for joining us. I am Amina Nujain. The Minister of Budget and National Planning, Senator Udo Udoma, says the federal government's poverty alleviation initiatives are making some impacts and government is determined to continue to do more to substantially reduce poverty among its citizens. He said the implementation of these programs had made Nigerians, particularly the poor and vulnerable, to feel directly the impact of governance. Senator Udoma said whilst there is no doubt that government has made a remarkable difference in this direction, efforts must be intensified to not only continue to focus on poverty alleviation programs, but to apply them consistently over a number of years to achieve the desired dramatic reduction in poverty. The Central Bank of Nigeria says Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves would have crashed to as low as $2 billion if the Central Bank of Nigeria had not restricted importers from accessing forex for the importation of about 42 items. Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria made this known, said according to government, the release of the items on the foreign exchange restriction list by CBN has contributed in shoring up the country's reserve to about $40 billion.
Central Bank of Nigeria will get even more aggressive to see to it that food and any or all food items that can be produced in Nigeria and consumed in Nigeria that are currently being imported into Nigeria, that we would go through our records, and once we convince ourselves that these products can be produced in Nigeria, we'll place them on the FX restriction list.
This week, it might increase the items on the foreign exchange restriction list from 42 to 50 in order to boost local production and stimulate the export market. Emefiele stated the CBN would get more aggressive in ensuring that more items being imported into the country were added to the forex restriction list. Meanwhile, the International Monetary Fund (IMF) in its World Economic Outlook update has cut global growth outlook. It said global growth in 2018 is estimated to be 3.7% as it was last fall, but signs of a slowdown in the second half of 2018 have led to a down revision for several economies. The IMF cut Nigeria's gross domestic product (GDP) projection for this year to 2%, down from 2.4% it had predicted for the country previously. The institution attributed its decision to lower the country's growth projection by 0.3% points to softening crude oil prices. The report anticipated that in sub-Saharan Africa, growth would pick up from 2.9% in 2018 to 3.5% in 2019 and 3.6% in 2020. Latest United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD, shows that global investment, foreign direct investment, FDI, fell by nearly a fifth in 2018 to an estimated $1.2 trillion from $1.47 trillion in 2017. The drop, the third in many years, brings FDI flows back to the low point reached after the global financial crisis, with the decline concentrated in developed countries where inflows fell by as much as 40% to an estimated $451 billion. According to UNCTAD, the 2018 FDI decline stems from the corporate income tax reforms in United States from 2017. United Nations multinational enterprises have embarked on a large repatriation of accumulated foreign earnings, a move which has hit Europe hard. In 2018, Europe's foreign investment flows amounted to 100 billion, an unprecedented 73% decline, and a value last seen in the 1990s. The United States also saw its inflows dip to $226 billion, a decline of 18%. The benchmark crude price fell to about $60.9, while U.S. crude futures were down 23% to about $53.57 a barrel. How are other commodities trading in the global market? The Monetary Policy Committee (NPC) of the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) on Tuesday left the policy rate at 14%, unchanged at 14%. I beg your pardon. Muplang Dakok reports.
It's the 15th consecutive time that the monetary policy rate (MPR), the determinant of interest rates, has been left untouched by the Monetary Policy Committee (MPC). Godwin Emefiele, the central bank governor, says the decision was unanimously taken by all 11 members of the committee. The last time CBN's MPC touched the MPR was in July 2016, when it opted to raise it by 200 basis points to 14.0%. At the end of July 2016 meeting, it also voted to retain the cash reserve ratio (CRR) at 22.5%. Retain the asymmetric corridor at plus 200/minus 500 basis points, and retain liquidity ratio at 30%.
Weighing the balance of its judgment on price stability conducive to growth, the MPC felt that tightening will result in loss of the gains so far achieved, noting that this may drive the banks to reprice assets, thus increasing the cost of credit as well as elevating credit risks in the economy. It will also worsen the position of non-performing loans of the banks. The committee also felt that tightening will dampen investments and hamper improvements in output growth, given.
A professor of economics, Oyinola Olaniyi, joins us to discuss the outcomes of the NPC. He is with the University of Abuja. Welcome to Business Express today.
Thank you very much.
Now, the NPC has retained the rates. Nothing has changed since 2016. What do you make of it?
Well, nothing has changed since 2016. The rates are left the same. All the policy decisions are left the same. That presupposes that the plan is working. The program is working to plan, and the growth parameters and the macroeconomic indices, the central bank is satisfied with those indices. Yes, that growth, we have resumed growth, and the inflation is not out of hand. But I think the analysis did not look at what is happening to unemployment, in the sense that we seem to take growth as an end in itself. So when we achieve growth, economic growth, we seem to be satisfied. I think the fact that we're having jobless growth is supposed to nudge us to look at what is growing and what is not growing.
You're talking about unemployment only. Looking holistically, what does this impact? Because the CBN is talking about tightening and fragile growth.
Yes. Fragile growth, tightening, yes. Well, that's what I'm saying, that the growth is fragile, is slow, but what are the components of the economy that is growing? Agriculture and services. And what are the components? What are the components of services that are growing? Trading. And this is the problem. And I think that we ignore the macroeconomic policy, ignores the problem. It indicates either that the problem is not monetary, or monetary indicators cannot tackle them. But I don't think so. I think the issue of the fact that manufacturing is not growing, and most people point to high rate of interest, high lending rates, behoves the monetary institution to look at what can be done to bring down the lending rate. And
do you see it coming to single digit anytime soon?
Well, with the policies, with leaving the monetary policy rate at 14%, I don't see it coming to single digit. I think we should, yes, the central bank the report talks about being cautious, but being cautious does not mean staying in one place. It means moving in the right direction and monitoring the effects. And I think instead of leaving monetary policy at 14%, we could begin a gradual movement downwards of the monetary policy rates, 13.5, 13, 12.5, and monitor to see what will be the impact on lending rate, because it's the high cost of lending that is preventing manufacturing to grow. Principal reason. Okay. And that is also one of the reasons why we have a high rate of debt of small and medium scale enterprises. People borrowing money at 30%. There is very little long-term investment that can be done. That's why it is only trading and speculative activities that are thriving.
Okay, let's talk about inflation. As at December 2018, inflation was 11.44%. Do you sense that the Central Bank of Nigeria, for instance, is worried about inflation because we have liquidity ratio being maintained 30%?
Yeah, I think the CBN is worried. That's why they talk about being conscious about going easy with money in circulation, monetary easing or tightening. They look at the possibility of easing, but they don't see it coming soon. And I think we should not just wait. We should begin to make movement towards relaxing the monetary policy cautiously, moving gradually, starting with monetary policy rate, reducing the monetary policy rate, and seeing the effect it will have on lending rate and the loan given to the manufacturing sector. It is only when you grow productivity that you are really making serious effort to reduce inflation.
Okay. Now let's move to the 41 items, the ban list that is likely going to extend to 50. There was talk about contribution to foreign reserves. What's your understanding of that?
Well, that is part of managing the foreign reserve on the demand management. If Nigerians have a very high appetite for imported items, then and the source of foreign exchange is not very what I mean is that the price of crude oil is not stable right now, and it's coming down. The optimism we had a few months back that it was going to rise has doused, and it is not likely to rise significantly. Even if the central bank is trying to take precaution and try to manage what
no,
we
but
have.
do you see this increasing foreign reserves?
Once you reduce demand, if you find a way to reduce the demand for foreign currency, you are taking water from a pond, and you want to reduce the rate of taking the water from the pond. You mean you want to conserve more in that pond. So if we are trying to increase the number in order to manage the demand, provided it is not it is on consumption items. It is not on items.
But do you see it encouraging consumption if it is increased to 50?
It will reduce consumption, because if you were getting foreign currency cheap and you can no longer get it cheap, it means that you will buy at a higher rate and you will think twice.
Okay, now let's economic projections. We have 2.8 by CBN, 2.2 by World Bank, and 2% by IMF. What's your take on that?
These are speculations based on the way we are all looking at this. They are very close. It is difficult to say this is the one. They are all very close, and I'm sure the CBN is not too far from the truth, because they are in the economy.
Okay, Professor Oyinyola Olaniyi, a professor of economics with the University of Abuja. Thank you for joining us on Business Express today.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure having you.
Yeah.
Remember to send us your feedback via email businessexpress@nta.gov.ng. You can also reach us on Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now with #BizX. We'll take a short break. Trading closed on a positive note today, Wednesday, the 23rd of January 2019, as the OSHA index gained 0.46% to close at 30,878.56 basis point. Market capitalization rose to 11.5 trillion naira, with investors exchanging 376.2 million shares valued at 2.96 billion naira. Now the Dow Jones snapped 4-day winning streak as fears of an economic slowdown intensify. Musa Abubakar has a summary of performance of major markets across the globe.
It's a quiet day for most African equities, with major bosses such as South Africa JSE Top 40, Kenya's Nairobi SC20, Tune Index and Ghana GSE Composite starting on a negative territory, except for Namibia overall, which began positive at 1.41 points. Major bosses in Asia ended Wednesday's session mixed amidst concern over ongoing U.S.-China trade negotiations. Shanghai Composite climbed 0.05% at 2,581. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index gained 2.75 points at 27,008.20, while the Nikkei declined 0.20%. Meanwhile, Europe equities started lower, with German DAX and FTSE 100 in negative territory.
Thank you, Musa. Time now to see how the Naira is exchanging for some major currencies. That's a wrap on Business Express for today. Again, don't forget to send us your feedback via email businessexpress@nta.gov.ng. You can also reach us on our Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now, #BizExp. Enjoy the rest of your week. I am Amina Nushain.